And in the hot seat, we're joined by Democratic Action Party leader Eugene Wamalwa. Good morning.
Morning.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Can we still say Happy New Year?
Yes, I think it's the first time I'm meeting you guys. We met last year.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're told that up until Valentine's Day, you can say Happy New Year. Thereafter, you have to be saying something else.
Yes.
So, but until
my birthday.
Were you born on Valentine's Day?
In April. Fool's Day, actually.
What?
You were born on April Fool's Day?
Yes.
We share a birthday.
Oh, wow.
I never talk about mine.
There's good reason, apparently.
People say, is it a joke? So I tell them I was either born to fool the world,
yes,
or to be fooled by the world. I don't know which one.
Well, we bamboozle the world for sure.
Well, let's see. Okay, so many things happen. 24 hours is, many would say, flies by really quickly. But in Kenyan politics, 24 hours can be like 24 years, where so many things happen in a very, very short time. And those are some of the intrigues that we'll be looking at today. But let's welcome you today in true Situation Room style. CT, as you know, travels around the continent. He has multiple visas to do some great things. And then, oh no, they're opening up Africa. Anyway, so, he has a proverb that he's going to share, and then you can tell us what you think about that. We're going to put you to work even before, anything else happens. So you can tell us how you would translate that.
We are in the United Republic of Tanzania. Okay, this country is bordered by so many other countries. Amazing. It's bordered by Uganda, Kenya, Mozambique, Malawi, Zambia, Rwanda, Burundi, DRC, and of course the Indian Ocean.
Of course.
That's a country too.
Yes, it's a country. In fact, it's several countries all rolled into one. A gentle breeze blowing in the right direction is better than a pair of strong oars.
Your time starts now.
A gentle breeze
blowing in the right direction,
is
better than a pair of strong oars.
Yes. I think it makes sense.
It makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. How so?
A gentle breeze blowing the right direction is stronger or better than?
It is better.
Better.
Than a strong pair of oars.
Yes, Mark, what do you think about that?
Sorry. Sorry.
Let me.
Just because you were both born on the same day doesn't mean that you can now help each other.
I shall sing a nursery rhyme. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream.
Yes.
Merrily, merrily. Okay.
Does that help?
You actually know what it is.
Yes.
The thing about proverb is not to overthink it.
Yes.
The thing that pops to your head, just say it. Because the question is, what does this proverb mean to you? Yes. Not what is the philosophical meaning behind it. That will come later.
Yeah.
But for now, how does it strike you?
I think let me pass.
Oh no, you're not passing.
We have 24 hours.
By the way,
wait. Do the other guests really need to come?
No, they don't.
Yes. So
No, we have time. Yes.
Yes.
Bro, you're not passing.
Yes.
A gentle breeze.
What does a breeze do? Think about what a breeze does.
Okay, let's say this boat had a sail.
Yes.
What would the breeze do?
Well, it would blow it in a certain direction.
Precisely.
Yes.
Precisely. Now, if you have a good wind blowing,
Yes.
and someone is in a boat, surely, do you actually even need the oars to row?
Not really. I think.
See,
Yes.
I told you, you actually know. You are overthinking it.
Okay, well, I mean, not so bad. I don't know that we give you 1,000 points, but either way. So look, we're having a conversation about the coalitions that we see forming over the last couple of weeks, getting into yesterday, where we now, so I mean, here in the Standard, there's a picture of you here with Senator Onyonka, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua,
Yes.
Kalonzo Musyoka.
Can I see yours?
Yes. So there's a picture of you there, and I'm just going to put that there for everybody to see. Right?
Yes.
And so we saw that, and it says that you are the one who has brought together several political leaders, and you launched your party headquarters in Nairobi with a message about an upcoming coalition aimed at dethroning Ruto in the 2027 elections. You shared a podium with former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka. They criticized Ruto's performance and dismissed him as a leader unworthy of a second term. So many things were happening at the same time.
Yes.
Obviously, there was the launch of these headquarters, but at the same time, it seemed as though there was a bringing together of folks who had been in different coalitions before coming together. And then thirdly, there seemed to have been a very strong message that was put out that, look, 2027 is your last run at the rodeo, President Ruto. Are all those things that I have said really the thrust of what was happening yesterday?
Yes, I think that is what happened yesterday. And really, we were not just unveiling our new party headquarters, we were also unveiling the face of the new formation. That is going to be the new coalition. That is going to be the new government. As you know, when we went into the last general election, my party joined 22 other parties under the Azimio banner.
Yes.
And we supported Raila Odinga and Martha Karua as our presidential and deputy presidential candidates. But after we lost the elections, we had a part of Azimio going into government and part of Azimio remaining in the opposition. I did use the Swahili saying yesterday that mpanda farasi wawili hupasuka msamba. So really what happened is that Azimio split into two, and for all practical purposes, Azimio is dead. Therefore, a time has come for us to start looking at formation of the new coalition. Yesterday was also a very significant day because the formation of the new IBC began yesterday. The panelists were sworn in yesterday, and therefore the electoral journey in Kenya began yesterday. We'll count the days to 10th of August 2027, and we don't have a lot of time. In fact, many Kenyans were getting very concerned about the delay in the formation of IEBC, which should be in place at least over 3 years for them to make proper preparations. So we're saying, as the opposition, as we enter these, as we start this electoral journey, we want to get organized and give Kenyans a better option. We have the broad-based government that has been broadened to swallow part of the opposition. But from yesterday, we're saying, as they broaden the broad-based government, we're also going to broaden and strengthen the opposition to form the next government. So we're not just talking of the four teams you saw yesterday: the Democratic Action Party of Kenya, the Wiper, and we also have Matiang'i's party and Gashagua's party that will soon be launched. We have others who will be coming on board. We'll be broadening this as we go ahead to form these winning coalitions.
So there will be a coalition.
There will be.
So obviously there will be a flag bearer.
Yes.
One who will come from this coalition that would essentially want to be president of Kenya, and that's going to be wind assisted. See, that's where it is.
Yes.
Wind assisted by the rest of the coalition.
Correct.
There's a person who most recently was the deputy president of an administration that you and others vehemently over the last few months were against in terms of how they ran things.
Yes.
And today you're forming a coalition with them. What has changed? And this is just for all avoidance of doubt. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua.
Yes. Well, Rigathi is a Kenyan.
Indeed.
And he enjoys all the constitutional rights and freedoms as a citizen. Though he's no longer deputy president, he still holds that most important office of citizen. I think it's Bill Clinton who said he's held very important positions and maybe the highest position of president. But he said the most important position is that of citizen, because they're the ones, the sovereign power of the nation lies in the citizen, and they only donate it to the leaders. So Gachagua was kicked out. He is still a politician who believes in his democratic rights to associate with others, and he has made his decision to join us in the opposition. Yesterday we welcomed him
because
officially.
he was kicked out.
No, he's made his own decision to join us. We had already, as Azimio, as I told you, we split, but we started the formation of a new coalition that yesterday he decided to join. So what we were doing yesterday was welcoming him on board, and there will be others who will come.
One of the things about a picture is it's very important to see who's there.
Yes.
But it's also important to see who is not there.
Yes.
For example, I don't see Jubilee Party represented there.
Yes.
But most importantly, we don't, not most, second to that, we don't see ODM.
Yes.
Because ODM seems to be comfortably in opposition and in government. But most importantly, I do not see the biggest opposition in this country. Where is the coalition with the Gen Z? So my questions are three: Jubilee, ODM, and this generation called Z or Z. My cousin used to say JZ.
Okay.
Yes. I think, as I said, this is just the beginning.
Okay.
Because we are talking of 4 principals who have come together. I remember when the NAC coalition was formed by my late brother and Kibaki and Gilu. There were just 3 people who were meeting, having a cup of tea. And I remember the late President Moi asked, what are these 2 gentlemen doing with a lady in hotels every week? But that's how governments are formed. 2-3 people come together. Then they bring others on board. I remember when we started the journey of forming the Jubilee Party, we were 3 young ministers in Kibaki's government. I was the leader of Newfort, Kenya. We had William Ruto, who had URP, and Uhuru Kenyatta, who launched TNA. We came together, just the 3 of us, and that is how Jubilee was formed. But others came on board later. So yesterday, what we started was a journey of about 4. But there are others.
Okay.
As you know, the Honorable Martha Karua already had a meeting with Gachagua, and they had agreed to work together. I had invited her yesterday to the event, but she was in court. She's a party in the abductions case.
Right.
So she said she would join us later. The Honorable Peter Munya also is a party leader of the PNU party. He was out of town, but he is also with us. So we will be broadening it. But also, if you listen to our speeches yesterday, we said it's not just the political parties. We need an all-hands-on-deck approach for us to beat William Ruto. We will need, apart from the political parties, we will need the Gen Zs, the youth of this country. And we are reaching out to them. We have a strategy for that. We'll be engaging them. We'll also need to work with civil society. They've been doing a great job in, fighting this system. The churches, this was one of the biggest support bases for William Ruto. They have fallen out. We will be engaging them as well. So it's just the beginning. Like they say, the proverbial journey of 1,000 miles starts with the 1 step. Yesterday we took the first step. But you will see us broadening this team and strengthening it as we go towards 2027.
Okay.
Yes.
What would be different? Because I asked this quite pointedly because we are not seeing different faces from who have been in politics, political leadership in this country from the last 20 years. So what is going to be different? The old adage of new wine in old skins comes to my mind, because how would we deliver something different? I mean, and the words came from members of these forming coalitions yesterday, whereby we will make sure that this is the president's last term. that would be his first and his last. There are things like corruption coming to an end. There are things like making sure the country turns around. What would be different if we're dealing with the same individuals, some who've been in government before and some who've had an opportunity to do things differently? What would we see differently from this coalition?
I think what we'll see would be the approach in terms of addressing the challenges facing the nation. And I think the biggest threat that we are facing now is that of corruption. The citizens are hurting. They have been overtaxed, and the taxes keep going higher and higher. But where is this money going? I think it was not by mistake when we had this opinion poll about the corrupt presidents in Africa and the world. And William Ruto was ranked actually the second after Assad. We've never had him deny or respond to that opinion poll. But it tells you that in our state house, we have a leader who has been branded as, one of the most corrupt presidents, not just in Africa, in the world. And we're saying anyone who is going to replace William Ruto, first of all, we must place our records, ourselves to public scrutiny. So even as we are forming this coalition, as a presidential candidate of DAP Kenya, my record is known. Would like Kenyans to look at the first qualifications of the next president. Is this a leader of integrity? Has he been implicated in any corruption scandals? What is his record? Because if you're going to bring a man who has had scandal after scandal, including I had Kiproto Arab Kira saying about the procession away to State House.
Yes.
We have someone in State House who had grabbed even the procession away to State House. So when you bring someone who has a known record of corruption, the highest corruption scandals, you don't expect them to change once they're in State House. A leopard does not change its spots. This is what happened. So today, as we're forming this coalition, we do not expect angels to come from heaven and just fall on us and become our leaders. It would be good for us to say, okay, these are the leaders presenting themselves. What are their records? And I'll be the first to say, if you think I'm corrupt, please don't make the mistake of putting me in there, giving me the powers that you've given this. Because if we were stealing with one hand out there, we'll be stealing with both hands. And that is what is happening. The other issue is the issue of tribalism. And I think this is one thing that, they were talking about in Western Kenya. For 6 days, they were out there in Western talking about Gachagua and Kalonzo and, and tribalism. But at the same time, they were talking about isolating a community. There can't be a worse form of tribalism that, conspiring or probably demonizing one community and isolating one community. So I think when we're looking at these issues, we want to see how this can be addressed.
It's a good thing to talk about 2027.
Yes.
But many Kenyans will tell you that there are things that are happening today that need addressing. And perhaps this is one of the things that people are asking.
Yes.
There's a certain gravitas that one Raila Odinga had, I don't know whether he still has it, where he was able to take governments head on and actually steer the people to stopping certain things. So even as you come to a coalition for 2027, for the people who are out there wishing for change now, what does this coalition building portend for us as Kenyans in terms of, let's say, for example, if the taxes are going to rise again, who is going to bail the cat? Is it going to be the Gen Zs again on the streets? Or is this coalition up to the task of being able to manage, oversight the government in a way that the people can rely on you, even in opposition, before you get the opportunity to get power?
I think from last year, as DAP Kenya, we have been on the front line of fighting against these high taxes. And our record is very clear that we are, I think, one of the few parties that voted 100% against the Finance Bill 2023. All our members of Parliament, led by, there's a young man called PK Salasia.
Right.
In 2024, again, we voted against the Finance Bill 2024. And you can see that the citizen, I think the month of October was a real dark month for anyone with a payslip. That is when they now started hitting the SHA 2.7%, housing levy 1.5%. Going into February, we're going to have another hit again. Now, when the NSSF deductions start, going into June, we have the Finance Bill 2025 coming. So for Kenyans, as long as, I had William Ruto saying, it doesn't matter even if you call me Zakayo. It's not really about Kenyans being disrespectful. It is about what he stands for and the pain he has caused to Kenyans through these very harsh taxes. And we see them going higher every day, and we do not see them coming down. So we are saying as the opposition that some of these policies have to change. The housing levy, when you look at the SHA issues, there are some of the things that we're saying we're going to do differently. And we've not just done it in Parliament. We have also fought this in court. We have been to court to challenge most of these policies that have been very punitive.
Right.
We've been on the streets in 2023, as we said. In 2024, the Gen Zs came out. What we are saying that going into the next Finance Bill 2025, this matter cannot be left to the Gen Zs. I think it is a matter that we are saying we are ready to come out. And this time, we don't leave it to the young people who pay the ultimate price on our behalf.
Right.
Yes.
Everybody has to come together.
So,
Yes.
so you're basically, are you promising the Gen Zs that you will lead the charge?
We will, and
That-
we're prepared.
You will be the person dodging abductions and things like that? Because I think the question I'm asking is, there is a price to be paid.
Yes.
Right? And that price is not in courts. That price is not in Parliament. That price is being at the forefront.
Yes.
Because when I look at the papers yesterday, the lady who was arrested is not a party leader. The people who on social media, on the streets, are pushing for this change.
If we can just go even a
Yes.
little bit further, I mean, and I think that when the representation of the protests that we saw last year was a representation of Kenyans who have issues
Yes.
that their government is essentially supposed to sort out by dint of the constitution.
Correct.
Right? So it doesn't matter. I mean, you can pick up a stone and throw it. It's going to land on an issue today. It's that children who are in school, we often use the picture behind CT as an example. That's a school in Kenya. It's not drawn by somebody. That's a school in Kenya.
True.
Those are issues that people go through. There are people in this country who fetch dirty water every day to drink. And then they're ridden with disease every day. And we have medical facilities that are supposed to be taking care of them. Or we have infrastructure supposedly in government that's supposed to ensure that there's clean drinking water, for example. We have road infrastructure that, for a lot of people doesn't work from farm to market.
Shashif.
We have a health system supposedly
Yes.
that's supposed to take care of people. For somebody who has a 500,000 shilling bill, is going to pay 14,000 shillings for whatever reason, we don't know. All right. So, like I said, you throw a stone, it's going to land on an issue, and so I think Kenyans are at the point whereby they don't need any pontificating anymore.
Yes.
Kenyans don't want somebody who's going to stand on the top of a car and say we are going to do this. You'd rather not even say that to Kenyans. Kenyans today are looking for that leadership that is going to ensure these issues that they're being pelted with every day are taken care of before we even start talking about development. The people of Kenya essentially will be taken care of. For me, it's a no-brainer. It is simple. That is what Kenyans want. So the promises and the
Court cases.
all this for Kenyans means nothing. And if I can just call you Eugene, I will say that's the truth. That's what Kenyans want today. So how do we ensure that the leader who wants to be a leader in 2027 today is ensuring that they resonate with these issues that Kenyans are facing today?
Yeah, so, for example, when that lady, and that's the latest example, when she was being arrested, being taken to prison and etc., a jail, so not prison, where was the A in your party, Democratic Action Party? What action was taken? Where were you? Did you go to bail her out? Were you physically there, standing by her principles? She had the courage to go and express herself in a press conference. But what we see today in opposition is we see a lot of speaking to the issues and very little action in belling the cat.
I think action takes many forms, but one of those really, we have been on the streets. We have fought for Kenyans. We forced this government to come to, of course, the NADCO process didn't yield much.
Yes,
but we were able to engage. In court, there are several issues that we have won, actually. When you look at the Adani issue, we as DAP Kenya, through one of our members, Tony Gashoka, he's the one who brought the petition. So we went to court, we took Adani on, and actually on 29th, we're going back to court now to confirm the actual cancellation of the Adani deal. It's because of the pressure, the action we took. Otherwise, Adani had already taken over JKIA. Ketraco, Adani is in Shah. The only issue that we haven't succeeded on is the Shah issue, because Adani is still in the Shah. The matter is still in court, but my good friend Senator Okello Mtata is still following it up. And there are other issues also when we had the sale of public assets. We had KICC, we had Zoya Sugar and others. We went to court, we got orders. You had William Ruto when he was in Western Kenya, he said, you know what, wengine walikuwa nasumbua sisi, but we have now dropped that. So there are quite a number of issues that we're fighting legally in Parliament and on the streets. So we are prepared to continue doing this. But it will not be just one party. It will take all of us.
Indeed.
Yes, the abductions. When they picked up these young fellows, you remember the Kitengela 3, Bob Njagi, we came in and they were released. When they abducted the 6 young fellows, Kina Kibet, we went to court. And we have been there, apart from just being political leaders, we are also lawyers. Pro bono, we have represented these families, worked with them, put pressure on government. And in the last appearance, when we were in court, the 5 were released. There's only one gentleman, Steve, who up to now hasn't been released. But we were in court again yesterday. And as I said, even as we're unveiling, Martha Karua was representing us. We are a team. The bailing of the Shah lady is still part of our team. We send people to get her out. And we're fighting. So what we want to say is that we might not really just stamp over what we have achieved or not, but we are committed to continue fighting this ignoble regime.
We are talking this morning with DAP Kenya party leader Eugene Wamalwa. Coalitions are being formed towards 2027. A change of government and a change of everything essentially is what we're after. Coalitions rising. What happens 2027?
You know, the coalitions and the talk of it and the formations of it have been our salvation in this country. Where we have difficulties, we've always been able to talk and agree and move forward. And it is one of the abiding, should we say, benefits or blessings that we have in this country. But even as we have these blessings, there are certain fundamentals that we seem not to have been able to address. With this government, the one before it, the one before that one, there were clear attempts. One, with President Kibaki, I was one of the people, I wished that the term limit for the presidency was 15 years.
Now or then?
Are you saying this is what you wish?
This
or,
one I wish it to be something like 2.5 years, if not.
That's but that's very dangerous talk in the current situation where term limits are actually being pushed.
This, you
removal.
see, the idea about discussing issues is you discuss them.
Yes.
Term limits are important because you then understand by putting them that government is a continuum. There is no one government that will be able to do everything that Kenyans want. None. It will never happen. So you are there for a season, you do what you can, the next person carries it on. So you are grateful when a government takes over from another and they continue with the projects that were there. Mm-hmm. I'm saying this because of one thing. The thing that we saw with the previous government was a rising level of debt that is unprecedented in our history. Many of the problems that we are now talking about emanate from those debts. This government has taken it a notch higher. 8 trillion, we're now at 11. The burden is going to be borne in the future. Some of it is being borne right now because we are paying for what we borrowed in the past. So every talk about taxes. Now, my question is this. We are talking about taxes and we're not talking about the debt. And yet, in my mind, the debt is the problem. Mm. This coalition that you have formed, even as you say you want to remove the president, why should that be a priority? Should the priority not be you telling us and showing us how to solve the problems that we currently have? Why should the removal of a president or voting him or electing him out be a priority? Why?
It's a priority because the policies are wrong. The priorities are wrong. And you remember when he took over, he came up with his bottom-up economic transformation agenda. It's called Better. Now, these policies were supposed to make our lives better. But City, if you ask any Kenyan today, this is the third year of this regime, are your lives better? Many Kenyans will tell you their lives are not better. Actually, their lives are bitter. Why? Because of the policies that were put in place. And as long as we have a leader who will continue bringing policies that instead of improving our lives, transforming the country, actually making our lives even more difficult, then it is our priority that leadership should end and that leader should be removed for those policies to change. One area that you could say everything went bottom up was, the taxes, the finance bill. That's where the rain started beating us, when he started with actually doubling VAT on fuel. When we were in government, VAT on fuel was at 8%. But immediately he entered, he doubled to 16%. There are some things, policies that were made in the energy sector. Remember the G2G deal? That never worked. But up to now, it has been extended. So even if global oil prices drop, Kenyans might not benefit much from it because of a deal that was sealed somewhere in Dubai by a few people. Before that, we had an open tender, very transparent, competitive process. These are some of the things we're saying that we would want to reverse those policies. We had this KNTC, a moribund state parastatal that was, picked from the books, somewhere from the shelf. You throw in 16 billion, you are going to import food, lower food prices, do everything. That money just disappeared, the edible oil scandal. These are things that have not been addressed up to now. So we're saying it is that this man should be removed for this corruption to change as long as he's there.
Politicians speak to each other.
Yes.
This we know.
Yes.
That I'm sure today that if you picked up the phone, President William Ruto would pick it up.
Yes.
And you could have a conversation, right? politicians.
Allow him to answer that.
And you think you can convince him? I mean, William Ruto is the only man who advises his advisors, I'm told.
Not about convincing.
He doesn't take any advice.
No, my question is, if you picked up your phone
yes.
at some point during the day
yes.
and called the president
yes.
and he saw Eugene Wamalwa is calling me,
yes.
would he pick up the phone?
I'm sure he would.
Okay. I'm not even going into what
yes.
you would discuss.
Yes.
So you have an opportunity that easily 55 million other Kenyans
yes.
do not. And we know that you all speak to one another. You know, you were in the presence of very many of them yesterday. My point is this, that you're in a place whereby you speak to each other. And the question is, does it never come up in conversation? If I was sitting with Mark and CT and around about a cup of tea, and Mark was doing something and we were sat there and he's doing something that is, you know, off color and behaving in a manner that's going to affect other people negatively. CT and I would be, hey Mark, you know, look, even if we are not the ones in the driver's seat, this thing that we are seeing is not good, man. Kenyans are complaining. Can you see that they're not happy? Sure, I might want to topple you tomorrow. That's fine. But in the meantime, I mean, we're friends. You would pick up the very fact that
yes.
he would answer the phone if you called, means that to an extent, there's an element of respect between you two, right?
Yes.
So why would it be so difficult to even have that primary conversation about, come on, Mark, this is not on. You know, things need to change a little bit. At least, even if we're saying we're going to topple you at 8 a.m. in the morning on August, whenever it will be, 2027. In the meantime, brother, can't we see that there can be something that you can do to make things a little bit better? I would imagine that would form the basis of some kind of conversation that you would have.
Yes, and we tried. You remember when we hit the streets and he pleaded and said, please stop this demonstration. Let's talk. We went to Bomas, almost 6 months. At Bomas, we told him our number one issue is cost of living. Kenyans are hurting. Can you remove some of these taxes? Can you drop on fuel alone? You had like 16 different levies and everything. And there are areas where he would actually have listened to us. Because there were experts who came and told me, you know, you can't tax people beyond a certain point. It becomes counterproductive. And in fact, the experts who came even from the Treasury, National Treasury, said they were not meeting their revenue targets. And these high taxes do not necessarily translate into high revenue for the government. They had all the experts, both local and international, at Bomas. What William told his team, do not remove even one levy or tax. They refused on matters cost of living. When the finance bill was going through, he called all the members of parliament to State House. And they said, don't remove even a comma. So it is that attitude of a leader who is totally insensitive and who must have his way, whatever the cost. I remember when we left Bomas, the issues that we had put on the table, there were 5 issues. None of the issues that we actually addressed, the cost of living and others, were addressed. But he said, what I would like is to create the office of Leader of Opposition, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, and other positions. These were matters he had already put in a memorandum to Parliament. So at Bomas, his team stonewalled and said, we'll only go with our 3 issues. Your 2 issues of cost of living, issues of IBC, electoral justice, these were issues that were not properly addressed. So in terms of talking, yes, we gave dialogue a chance. We put our issues on the table. But I'm one of the members who never signed the NADCO report. Why?
Yes.
Because the single most important issue of cost of living was never addressed. The Wanjiku issue. But the political class issues, the offices, whatever, those are the issues that were actually given priority. So it is really the attitude. It is really the person who William is. That is the problem.
Okay, we've understood who the president is, so we seem to claim. But he doesn't do these things alone, does he? Parliament is a great ally. We hear of state capture, we hear of parliament capture. I find it strange. These are individuals who are elected. They were not elected as a group. They were elected individually. You represent a certain group of people. The Constitution gives you certain powers. You sell those powers. Okay? And then we complain. The executive, it doesn't matter which country you're in, the executive is always trying to do one better with the members of parliament. True. They always do. It doesn't matter whether it's a presidential system of government or a parliamentary system. That always happens. Now, we hear the same complaints about the judiciary. And I'm asking myself, why are we wasting so much time complaining when we should be asking our members of parliament, excuse me, you people, what is this nonsense that we keep seeing? Because in the absence of that collusion, everything we're talking about here would not happen. And yet, it is easier and simpler to just say it is the president.
No, you are right, City. And actually, the biggest problem we have today is that our parliament has been captured completely. The Gen Zs entered that house because they had lost confidence in our members of parliament. On the 25th of June last year, this parliament was impeached by the Gen Zs. And symbolically, them entering that parliament and taking the mess, that was the end of that parliament. The speaker, Wetangula himself, left parliament in an ambulance. He had to take off. The members were running out of parliament. Some of them were running faster than Omanyala, Ferdinand. Why? Because the people of Kenya had said, we no longer have confidence in you. You are serving your own agendas. You are not listening to us. And even on the day that the Gen Zs entered parliament, they were at the gates of parliament. When the MPs were voting, passing the Finance Bill 2024, the Gen Zs were saying, please don't pass this. So we don't have confidence in this parliament as Kenyans. It was impeached. But they are still there. They are still doing their thing. But in the next election, it will be up to Kenyans now to give us leaders of integrity.
Let me just say this. Yes. President William Ruto said categorically that for 2027, he has no competition. And he said his only opponent is his track record. Then there's the person of Raila Odinga, who's taken the wind out of the sails of what used to be opposition. My question to you is very pointed and clear. Do you have the strength, the system, the capacity, the resource, both human and otherwise, to actually deliver to Kenyans the promise you're making? Because Kenyans keep asking, and I'm sure online they ask all the time, who is this that can take on the juggernaut that is William Ruto?
I think William Ruto,
who by the way has never lost an election.
Yes. I think William Ruto himself and his record, people will be voting against William Ruto and his record and his failed policies. And when he's boasting about his record, I'm sure by 2027, it is that same record that will send him home. Anyone with a pay slip today, and you're talking of over 3 million Kenyans, as long as Ruto remains president, that pain will not go away. And the corrupt deals that we are seeing today, Adani was just a tip of the iceberg. And we must thank whistleblowers like Maina, Senator Onyonka, who brought the matter to Parliament, Tony Gashoka, who took the matter to court. There are bigger scandals than Adani that will blow up. And it is our mission to expose them, to fight them. And yes, we have
the capacity.
We have the resilience to ensure that we fight this to the end.
You know, my mind went back to the days of Ford.
Yes.
before it disintegrated into all manner of hordes.
Yes,
For
yes.
the people.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm thinking of how it is the late President Moi kept winning every election. And the reason was because the opposition was fragmented.
That's correct.
Not once did he get 40% of the votes. Not once.
36%.
Yeah, not once. But he kept winning. Our laws allowed you, as long as you had more votes than everybody else, you won.
First past the post.
That situation is exactly where we are today. There's no difference. And I'm grateful to the Almighty that we have a president like William Ruto. You know why? This is the president who has shown us Kenyans exactly what we are and who we are. Forget this pretentious, double-faced talk that we like having, that we think we are this and we are actually the other. It is not possible for members of parliament to do what they do unless we allow them to. We prefer to blame rather than to take the step of holding members of parliament to account. We prefer to blame rather than taking our leaders to account and tell them, excuse me, this is the way we want it. It took our children to tell us this is real. We are not putting up with this. But have we changed? The answer is no.
One would argue that the boldness that's needed today in moving this country forward in terms of making sure that leadership is optimal is the attitude that those children, I'm not going to call them children, that those Kenyans put out on the street. And that one has to be bold enough to say, yes, we're in the pit. How are we going to get out of it? And I think that that's the kind of leader that Kenya needs today, to be honest about the situation, because unfortunately there's not been enough honesty. If anything, things have gotten worse. We've seen that. Corruption, everybody shouts about it. The infrastructure, it's terrible. The thing is on its knees. So the one who will be honest about the situation and even say, I don't have everything that I need to do this, but that we need to do it together. And in my opinion, if we do not have somebody who's able to be honest at that level, then we are still, unfortunately, still searching. And the question is, does that person exist?
And just to top it up, the thing that keeps ringing in my mind is the Democratic Action Party. Action Party. There's a Bible verse that says the kingdom is not just a matter of talk. Where is this great action that is going to give Kenyans hope and a belief in a better future? That, I think, is the question we're all asking.
I think, Mark, yesterday we took some action. And maybe a lot of people might not see the significance of the action we took yesterday. But in a few months and weeks to come, it will be seen. And I remember, what City was talking about, how Moi won in 92, in 97. You look at the votes of Matiba, of Kibaki, of Raila, of Wamalwa, of Ngilu. He was able to split them. And with a minority of 36, he still became president. Yes. But when it came to 202, the action that was taken by the leaders then, when they realized we go separately, we will not beat this fellow. We must come together
in order to do it.
And that coalition building that started in 202 and actually brought about regime change. Kanu had been in power for over 40 years. But when leaders came together and Kenyans said enough is enough, they voted against Kanu and Moi. But the opposition held together. This is what we must do now.
Indeed.
So that coalition building, I think we have a history of very successful coalitions beyond 202. And yesterday, we started that journey again. We want to assure Kenyans that it might not be Wamalwa alone who can beat Ruto or Gachagua, but a team. And what we need is an all-hands-on-deck approach, including bringing the Gen Zs on board, including the churches, the civil society. It is that broad coalition that we are building now. So it will not be a one-man show. And it will be a team that will beat William Ruto.
Party leader of the DAP Kenya party, Eugene Wamalwa, has been our guest this hour. These conversations must continue. Thank you for being in the hot seat of the Situation Room this morning. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.